So what we need to negate or what we need to refute is the subtle self, which is grasped or clinged by the innate self-grasping attitude. That is what we need to negate. So when you talk about the innate self-grasping attitude, it is naturally there. Even those who do not know any spiritual practices or any dharma, that you can find even in the mental continuum of very tiny creatures.
나 던질 현지 코야 뭐 마신 받잖아. 던질 현지는 진주대 하고 말아. 당고 던질 현지도 모션 받자. 내가 그 진주 모션 받잖아. 했더니 다들 제가 저러마다 던질 현지에 뭐 마신 던질 현지는 진주 뭐 마신 다들 제가 먹고 싶기 때문에 다가다라는 것도 제가 지기도 요르데. 내시 제가 전에 던질 현지는 누구 말해?
So therefore, it is very important to know what you mean by the innate self-grasping attitude. First try to identify that properly, and then, secondly, try to identify how it clings to its object. Without recognizing or without having identified this true point, even if you use all this logical process or logical reason, such as the 4-point analysis and so on, to analyze emptiness, you may go through a lot of investigation and analysis, but it doesn't touch to the point, or it doesn't, kind of uproot what you want to refute.
딱 가져다 비가 유지 가져다 유신지 가져다 그거를 가져다 남지 가져다 왜 가져다 이렇게 나다 가져다 니어스.
So the object of negation, there are two levels. Sometimes it labels as the object of negation of the object and object of negation of the subject, and sometimes we label as the object of negation of the path and object of negation of the logical reasoning. So in short, there are only two levels of object of negation.
나 유지 가져 단들 현지 때 다도 두바 셴베 아니 유들라 아니 유지 가져 그요.
So the object of negation of the object is the object which is clinged or grasped by the innate self-grasping attitude. That is what you mean by object of negation of the object.
나 남지 가져서나 나 유진 가져서나 때 가져서는 단들 현지 있어요. 단질 현지에 유지 가져라 쉐바레 내가 말했어.
So then, when you talk about object of negation of the path or subject, is the innate self-grasping attitude itself. That is not a non-existent. That is the existence. That is the consciousness itself.
제가 얘네들이 가전되는 시절을 미스가지고 그때 여행을 가 먹어 소스하게 유진지 가전, 아주 유지 가전인 거예요.
So therefore, when you hear that the object of negation should not be the knowable object or something which is existent. If it is object of negation, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be existent. That refers to the object of negation of the object. Okay.
가전들 시절을 씹어주 그지 여자가 가 그거가 되지만.
So then the second one is that object of negation should be existent or should be a part of knowable object, but it still has to refute or negate. That is the second object of negation. Okay, this object of negation of the path or subject.
어디 말하는지 다른데 현지도 내가 말해요. 어디 이내 가고요.
So therefore, it is said that within mental continuum, the self-grasping attitude is something not existent. It is existent, but it's still you need to refute.
onda danjil hinji de ane chambara kom nyingdira kom nolam ra kya tani be sonda kalpe chambadan janju sema ko tande ko na pa ane ko danjil hinji de pa 좀 두고 와서나 ko nyang de yo mar ka ge chi mar.
So, to refute or to negate this such a innate attitude, this innate self-grasping attitude, by utilizing the technique known as meditation on love or meditation on compassion, this will doesn't help, or this will not touch. It will stay there, enjoying itself. That doesn't harm at all.
어느 수인 정도라서는 콜레야 코레가 pen 진단 간다지 거는 간다. 그리고 지금 매년 진단 간다지 로직이 다 정보요.
So, the only thing that uproots such an attitude should be a completely contradictory attitude. We're still observing on one object or, focusing on one object, same object, but the attitude should be a contradictory with that innate self-grasping attitude.
제가 진단 가봐도 내서 말씀 등질 행지 고랑 오시나 갈라가고 그래.
So therefore, to actually identify, the opposite of that attitude, then first of all you need to have the actual understanding or identification of the self-grasping attitude itself.
나 이내 오시 말한다 갈라가고 싶어라는 말들에 이내 꼭 오시에 그 송대가 간다야 균형도 비가 잡아줘야 돼. 갈라가고 싶어.
But actually, to identify that attitude, the innate self-grasping attitude alone, is not that difficult. The difficult point is, while having identified that attitude, while it's still fresh in mind, then have to refute it. That is the most difficult part.
가라서 된질 행주 공원도 배수 충분 규례 간다는 것인다 기능께서요 말이야.
Because once this inner self-grasping attitude is fully matured or fully manifested, there's no other opportunity, or there's no opportunity for other consciousness to arise.
가라서 말하는 배다 지난 치고 용어 간담대가 가르쳐서 배 선배 강의야. 만질 행지 거라 봐 카운데 봐. 잘되어서 배 나고 강의가 때문에 좀 봐. 잘되어서 뭐 도지그 로신변은 반 제가 상하잖아요. 코쇼시라다는 로신면 그 get하면 더 그 해주는 것도 봐.
So, for example, if one is in a very fearful situation, you have very strong sense of the feeling of, such a self of the I. But even if you try to analyze that, because that feeling is so strong, dominating everything, you can't actually, kind of generate extra attitude to analyze that.
그나마 밀라레 데레스 투제데 신나게 봐이나 신나게 온들다 데리고 신나게 두르마도 랑나 가셔서 섬들당 만들 행지 뺐다. 저래 시에 간당 만들 행지 끼리 열들에 만들 행지 거래 칸 로신다가 네 제바치야 로컬이야 제바치게 수단이니라 요 말을.
Because say suppose if you encounter with the evil spirit, then your fear of seeing evil spirit is so strong that you have a strong sense of fear. Since the fear is so strong, it fills entire body or entire thing. Then there's no other opportunity. There's no opportunity for other consciousness to arise and check. Although the inner self-grasping attitude is fully manifested at that level, but it's kind of, like overwhelming or like fully dominating the entire thing. So, doesn't allow for other consciousness or wisdom to arise there.
오늘 안 하는 데다 암조만 원인반인다. 아니 간담을 하는데 기운도 잡아지야. 나 태양원데. 가디네 다 잡아지야. 당만은 지그리 한번 굴릉 봐 잡아지야. 한번 굴릉 제. 근데 원도 잡아지기 지는데 지만 잡아처럼 주는 고스타로 써야 돼.
So since you have heard this kind of techniques, quite a number of times, and then should keep in mind that when such a situation occurs, you want to analyze, you want to check, and then also try to analyze, during those periods, then, continuing like this kind of way, then there's, possibility and opportunity of gaining the right understanding.
근데 배 크고는 제가 찜마도 가려서는 뭐라는 배 말이고 두고요 봐 직체. 근데 디바트 두고요 봐 이런 사람들 되게 직디베 직직 말이고 직직 제가 완전히 코코랑 검다로 쳐봐 연다 검배 직도 숨고도 돼요.
So the reason why we are unable to analyze in such a situation is because we are obscured by three levels of obscuration. One is that, we are fully acquainted with such an idea since beginningless lifetime. And secondly, we are obscured by the, very thick ignorance. And thirdly, we are obscured by the negative action or the defilement.
가시비가 돈이 또 나야 단도배 아니 시작 남다배가 돈이 그 민난 같은 배 참모도 주네 저 두고 맞맞도 저 두야 되려고 요 말을 가서 돈이 또 나야.
In case if one has realized emptiness, still one is unable to overcome the subtle dualistic appearances. We still have the defilements of the subtle dualistic appearances.
올라만 정가 준비해 오고 주노리야 등 동반이 돈다야 하는 면제도 피는 차도 주고 받도 되고 면제다. 소사투장 망고 전에 등에 따라 주의점이 있단 말이야.
So therefore, in Lama Tsongkhapa, and he showed that, to have the right understanding or realization of emptiness, then, he carried on all these intensive practices, such as mandala offering, until, he entered up the muscles in the hand, until he kept, only bare bone. He showed this kind of, aspect, the need of the practice.
대단 말했다 시장은 돌아야 한 단주스 맞다도 어디 맛이 돈이 또 알았어.
And not only that, it is also said from the from the spiritual teachings that Bodhisattva, known as the Taktungu, who like said to be always crying, he in fact realized the emptiness.
얘는 내가 탈침 맞은 마지막에 인단 배다 동반이 되는 시장은 너 동긴 직배네. But
still he haven't realized perfectly, although he realized directly, but he hasn't yet realized the subtle point or subtle level. So therefore he's always crying to seek the teacher who is able to expound teaching on the perfection of wisdom sutra.
어떻게 나한테 반자다 지금 장주스마들 망고 제한자를 되더라 마침 방아라는 배는 시장은 너들한테 챙기대 기회심이 배란지 그것도 없잖아요. 그런 뭐도요.
So although he was encountering all these incredible masters such as Bodhisattvas and Buddhas, but still he's crying to have a teacher or the guru who can actually explain to him this particular topic, the teachings on the wisdom gone beyond.
근데 다 뭐때가 인다데 니마지 답은 난간데 자주는 지난데는 샤저로 송시 전제 번된 시절이 요래 달라 손다 시간 더 때문에 지랄라만테가 요래
and then all of a sudden then since he was crying long time, so all of a sudden he heard a sound from a space or from the sky saying that he should go towards the eastern direction, the province known as the Tibetan, where you will meet with the master or the guru who can guide you in these topics.
나 지대배 코알라 명중 수신부 와이 말아봐. 세일라면서 고민이란 말이. 동아미이란 말이. 동아이란 말이. 배는 시대가 더 들은 거지 기금 단단한 차라서는 어떤 배다 대단한 등인 거야. 아니 검도 모두 알았어.
So, since he has this strong, very, very strong sense of renunciation towards the cycle of existence, therefore, he was not worried about, his food and his, clothing and, food and all these things, constantly day and night, concentrating, upon, upon the ultimate nature, upon the ultimate.
나중에 사절로 봐 줘야 가나 될 용바질이야. 야, 동전 변절을 생각들은 좋아하지 말라. 장주선 봐 쳐봐라야. 되는 뭐 하자 그거를. 정말에 ben 뭐 하자 하면 인간다 가래 푸고 있나 삼자다. 당당당당당. 다 지만 시면서 라는 게 없어. 말은 그거라 류도 봐 송이제. 된 뒷배사 되든 되게 라마 쳐봐라야 뭐 하자. 또도 삼분대를 가지고 시작하지.
So then, since he have to go to now to this eastern direction where the province where the master lives, and then now he need to have an offering, to go to receive that teaching, but he didn't have anything. But he was considering, on and on. But since he didn't have anything, he, he developed thought that to sell his body. And then maybe get some offering for that, to receive that teaching.
다 되네배 안에 통제지 파친데가 다 류중고 인바다 년년이베 깨지는 심벌들이야 그리고 전일라는 누구의 그님들이장 라라바바 마마송으로.
And then he went to nearby village or the province, and he shout, and I want to sell my body. There's someone who wants to buy, but but it then yet, it was, like through the blessing of the demon or the evil force, no one, no one approached or no one came and saying that they want to buy.
나한테 아니 배 라제제는 아니고 라제 주바지가 참서서 봐 주의대 친. 류중고 인스가도 땐데 아니면 다 저기 인지를 삼드는가 참서지를 드는 거는 배 말이야 아니라 지단당 안 미셔게 고하면 얘네 추진치야가 아니 미는 배 차다 간다 루바다 살든가 말아 고하면 이처럼 돈은 아니고 인스라 그래 냠세야.
But then eventually a Brahmin heard, and then then he was to check his mind that because he wants to sell his body, whether it is true or not. So to analyze that, then Brahmin came and said that actually I don't eat human flesh, but I need human blood and the bones, to make offering or to sacrifice their practices. So he kind of replied in this kind of way.
나한테 때가 소리야 친자 돌려는데 어느 장에 샤다도 봐 간다도 봐 뒤봐 뜨는 봐 간다도 봐 짜가요.
And then so now since he found someone to buy, so he went nearby corner and took a piece of stone and tried to take out his part of the flesh and bone, try to make it pieces.
나배 다이창아 방아 차리 용이 중앙도 시민을 가봐서 저한 도시치 땅 안에 예배 초대 니서 담배 투신되는 가려 수있음 땅 안에 잔주 선바 세상은 너들은 무슨 생각을 야다 뭐하지 않는 거를 담배 가워줘서.
And then he even thanked that person who is buying his body, saying that you are very kind that you're buying this. So now I'm having the opportunity to have some offering, to present to the teacher so that he can receive, or so that I can receive teaching on the perfection of wisdom.
걔는 다 도와든 데는 전면 정받은 데는 보면 맞대네 막. 이 최근에 아니 최근에 또 라는야 나도 도와는데 아니 가르치기 요스마 아니 저한테가 심으로 보면 데.
And then nearby there happened to be some girls who are the who are the daughters of the merchant, and then saying that what are you doing, all these sort of things, didn't you feel pain?
나 그냥 나다 맛이 가르치기 맞아 말에 땅한테 예배 총에서 근데 총에 가르치기 맞아 말에 빼샤한다 뭐하자 캐네 근데 또 연구를 아니 뭐 가르치기 맞아 뭐가 시즌간도 되는 거지 생각 장주선 뭐 초발이야 아니 뭐하자 때는 가르치는 거래 네 뭐하지만 시즌간도 되는 거지 최대 쉬소로 대지는 안 하는 길이야 아니 가서라다 장조적인 수준다 만들어 수지다 근데 반제가 배 샘플 이런 버전 뭐 제주도 제가 반제가 있는데 상황을 돌아온 거를 일정화 가가 내가 돼요 말은 어때 가보냐
then they thought, what you want to do, by telling your body. And he said that I want to acquire some offerings out of this, to present to my teacher. Then the girls again asked, what do you get out of that teacher by presenting this offering? And he said, I will receive the teachings on the wisdom gone beyond. And the girls asked, out of that, what do you get? And he says, if I get teachings on this wisdom gone beyond, then I will be achieving all this in marvelous qualities of the enlightened beings, such as the 37 A's and then 32 and 80 major and minor noble marks and so forth.
나 그냥 다 예전에 하나 그냥 그냥 냐면 세반이 보면 막 섬스 건마dom자 근데 이네 뭐하다 풀 근데 는 거랑 차도 주 주다 내가 된다고는 수세반이 말았어.
And then even that Brahmin initially who was checking, who was testing him, and developed a strong sense of regret and kind of said like apologized him, and then through the power or the prayer of truth, all that part of flesh and bone being chopped out, revived and came same as before, and then they offered they gave something for him to take as an offering for the master.
같은 데그 배산제가 생성 무슨 그 편연 신부 텐데 연한다 완전은 범범한 거요. 완전히 장님도 그냥 파말이야. 그런 쇼쇼가 연도 틀어지.
And then the daughters of the merchant said, if by receiving that teaching, if you have such an advantage and the benefit, then we also want to follow you because our parents are very wealthy, and we can ask them some of their wealth, and we will also follow you.
나 총배 보면 응압자다는 보멍압자라는 파마를 따라가는 신경압자잖아요. 인사적으로 하는 통계 변경을 하는 최소화팀을.
Then I know 500 daughters of the wealthy merchants, including the 500 chariots, with the offering, and then followed him through that office to receive teachings on the wisdom gone beyond.
다들 내가 통계 변경을 하는 바다 체는 건조배 이내 나가 쳐 말하면 로 된지 권장을 쇼. 로 된지를 나가 건조비가 고고 좀
But then when they actually approached to this province known as Tibetan, that master was in intensive retreat for a period of time. So they didn't get teaching right away. They had to wait there for a period of 7 years.
다 그냥 로딩 인데 다 간다 다 잠시만 맞춰봐 되는 다 최소를 나가네 자동도는 건조배 가네 근데 다시도 다 잠시만 맞춰봐 되는 뭐좀 나도가 티티도 최소를 딱 내가 다시들한테 아니 그냥 탈랑데 두고 돼야 다시당 아니 건조배 보면가지고 저 상말로 아니 다도 뭐잖아 그냥 차다 보면가지고 저 그냥 차다 다시들 봐 다시다 배는 저발이 아니 되게 탈랑 그래 스탠드에 굉장히 이거죠.
Then the 7 years have been passed, and the actual time for that master, came to preach the teachings of the wisdom gone beyond. And then they prepared all these, extensive and very expensive thrones, which were made out of precious jewels and precious substances. But then, yet, a lot of evil forces or the demons of creating, unfavorable conditions nearby, like a lot of dust and so on. So to calm down or to keep down with all this arisal of dust, including the bodhisattva known as Tathungu, they extract blood from their own body, including the daughters of the 500 daughters of the wealthy merchant, and then they spread the place where the discourse is going to be held.
나가서 바타가 저자다는 뒤면서 저바 인상은 다른데 다른 인지라 가다 근데 진실라가 인상 제만 아니 바타가 되면 책 근데 배다 동네 등에 배 티시모 봐 진실라가 같은데 진실한 거 중에 내 진실로 근데 그래 제만 다 관도 줘봐 본데 저 좀 맞춰야 거든 그거 할 때도 쉬시 시장 그 쉬시거든.
So then, because of their interest and effort, even though it was the blood was sprinkled to keep down or to calm down the dust, and because of blessings from the devas and the gods, then there were no any smell and there's no any sight of the blood, but it did float on in a very marvelous fragrance, and then the teachings were started.
어떤 된대가 반도 깔아 있자 손으로 싸와 있는다. 아니 쇼 된다 들어야 되는 도만이가 된도 또.
So since they put a lot of hardships and effort and interest towards them to receive this teaching, in that very lifetime they realize the meaning of the profound emptiness.
나가라 그랬잖아. 인자는 그랬다. 맞잖아. 본인은 또 저기다 당원한가만 바다 유념에서 저기까지 가고 요래.
For us, since we haven't put such an effort towards understanding and realizing this teaching, it is hard. If you don't put some effort and don't go through some hardships of understanding and realizing this teaching, unless if someone has a very positive imprint left from the past, it's difficult.
제가 말한다 차다에 밴드다에 부르는 저다도 전화에 때도 가와라 때도 제가 아니면 돈이 떠야 하려고.
So therefore, if you combine practices such as accumulating merits and purifying the obscuration, such as doing prostrations and the mandala offering, with such hardships, then there is a possibility, there is an opportunity to gain that standing.
또 다른 어디에 당고 사는 사람 말을 사람네 텐딩이래 아니 사된 것도 퍼버려.
Because that bodhisattva, Tatung, who always crying bodhisattva, in fact, at that time he have achieved, or he entered into the Mahayana path of accumulation, and then at that very lifetime he obtained the seven bodhisattva ground for the Bhumi. Is that because of these few years hardship that he has gone through, that he was able to accumulate the merit which takes for two countless great eons. In our case, we haven't even put hardship for overnight. So therefore, in our case, also we have to make a strong prayer, and a strong supplication. It is said that for that person, the Guru known as the Bodhisattva Chöpa is much more kind than the Buddha, because it is through his kindness, that he has the strong Guru devotion to him, induced by that this Bodhisattva Tatung realize the emptiness. So the one way of analyzing emptiness should start from delusion. How, under the force of delusion, we accumulate the negative karma, and through that way is the one technique to analyze or investigate the emptiness. Because for Buddhas, there is no even name of the of enemies. There's no for them there's no enemy at all. But for us, in the phase of anger, we have very solid and concrete enemy, isn't it?
다 시단들은 알아도 배째고 많고 전화니 시단 자고 쉬랑 해요. 강동이야.
Because the more you investigate the object of our hatred or the anger, the more the hatred increases.
다 시단 잡으려는 거다. 시단 잡을지 단지 현재 잡을지 진지 잡을지 아니 கொஞ்சம் 숨자로 요야 되는 때 먼저 손도 쏘죠.
So when this very strong anger is arising, at that very time, then this strong self-grasping attitude is there, as well as the self-cherishing attitude is there. These three attitudes are having a meeting there.
나 지금은 이 시단을 가르치고도 진지 가르치고도 단지 가르치고도 어느 정도 다 틀어져야 잡아주고.
And then at that point is the point where you should analyze what anger is talking about, or what the self-grasping attitude is proposing about, and what the self-cherishing attitude is proposing in the discussion.
나 그냥 전체가 시단과 담아가지고 단지 거 진진게 그게 다 단진게 다 타고 이제 막 시한테 받으려고 그래 마땅한 시야지 단진게 다 매가지고 봐 야야야 쭉다는 건데 넣는데 열었잖아.
So then then you find that through the force of that anger, then although there's no enemy, then you have the solid concrete enemy in the face of anger, and then the self-grasping attitude clings the misconceived self very strongly and concretely. And that cherishing attitude cherishes very strongly there.
알레 당고 대수문도 봐야고 싶어 뭐시 봤다듯이.
So the very first, you should try to identify these three attitudes properly.
나 때문에 왔다 만 단들 현재는 진지들 현재죠.
And then the main investigation should be made upon the object which is clinged or grasped by the self-grasping attitude.
단지 현재도 가려서 시작을 해서 당고 대표가 달아야 하는데 다 제하고 망고 제가 시간 자고 집에 내가 때야 하는 말을 코드를 쓰고도 상관없이 만들기 원데는 당고 마디 또가 사실은 때에 맞아 담바도 당 사실 때에 많이 니도 지금이야. 네. 당고도 능비와.
So this self-grasping attitude focuses upon that self when enemy creates anger within your mind. That then when you investigate the bad qualities or the words that he have expressed towards you, then you appear that he or she is saying this to me or said this to me, and then at that point this self-grasping attitude clings towards the misconceived self as well as the I.
다고 매바 있는 말 사실 때가 완전 아닌가 유경하다 이거를. 다고 나와도 때도 마다고 때마도 나와도 나와도 논도 때도 좀 때마도 받나. 이면 사실 때가 많이 받으니까 유경하다는 거를 당고당 현재 당고도.
So this very first self-grasping attitude, appears the self, the dependent self, the self which is dependent on parts and particles. But it appears that self being truly existent from its own side. It is still appear the existent self, but being truly existent.
사실 간다 때라서 당복만 뜻다라는 것도 나봐도 술을 여던 거 근데 지금 알리는지 님도리가 니도들이야 하는 거를.
Because initially, that mind had the appearances of I, which is dependent upon head and body and hands and so on. So at that point, he has both appearances, the conventional self as well as the misconceived self.
다 드는 제가 제가 드는 다 그래와 어떻게 다 당고배 자실라랑 거 자실로 대방 맞았나. 근데 뒤에 세당에 잘했지. 세당한테 아니 숙처렇지. 세당 숙처를 침배 지대든 안돼 되는 강에가 때문에 이제 망아 제가 같은 비게 다 차고. 사실 강에 안 맞대다 방고가 소단게 막 강한 정도지. 차고 이제 근데 뭐야 가야 요 말에 동안간에 그거 때문에 맨날 뭐야 차고 말에 아도 비게 가서래. 아도 가게 매점에 되고 싶지. 그 집에 내가 어디 타고 있다. 강에가 때문에 나베 되는 거 같이 시작해요.
So induced by that appearances, that self which is actually existent, dependent upon parts and particles, but then induced by that, then your anger, become more stronger, more and more stronger. Then you have only this very solid and concrete I, which is dominating entire thing that appears to you, and then when it is manifested, when it is appearing to you, then you don't feel shy, you don't feel anything, you just react in that kind of a way. If one were to take a picture at that stage and look at later stage, then you feel maybe you feel shy there. So at that point is the point where you appear the I, which is independent, existing from its own right, and it is from its own side, very solid way, a concrete way. Although such I or the self is lacking, it does not exist at all, but then you have the strong belief that and the strong conviction that it is existent. So, since having such a belief and conviction upon that object, and then grasping or clinging in that kind of way is what is meant by the self-grasping, innate self-grasping attitude. So that would be the president of all these other surrounding delusions. So then that is the one who make the resolution or the decision. So, since it clings, or as the object appears to it, then that even intensifies the anger. And then you then you react negatively, that you stare at them, and from your mouth you express all this negative words that you're not supposed to be expressing, and then you even try to use weapons if they are around. And then with that kind of way, then either you chop other people or kill other people. Then through that is how you accumulate the negative force, negative energy. So when you come after completing all this task, all these things, if you were to analyze or investigate, that innate self-grasping attitude, then it's completely already hidden. You will not find that. In case if you were to find that, then that would be, that play a very tricky role. Because sometimes you find it is on the aggregate, sometimes you find it is on like body, sometimes you find it being on the basis of mind, like here and there, it's kind of moving around in that kind of way. But then it's still, if one is very skillful, continuously chasing after that, and if one is able to find, then it's again easy to refute it.
나가 때문에 말하는 주변 zembar until neshi chaba kobe zin deba kana neshi chaba chutonu the tongmani la.
So while holding that object by the innate eye personal attitude in this kind of way, at that point, if one is able to employ the 4-point analysis, the logical reasoning known as the 4-point analysis, then emptiness is not that difficult.
다 되네 코베 그냥 강라 때문에 좀 와도 시험받을 라그래 와서 매버려 그래.
Because at that point, with that logical reason, you will lose, or you like that self or the I which seems to be existing independently and concretely from its own side and from its own right is kind of diseased to exist, or like it kind of loses to exist. Because if you find the non-existence of that object, then that means you have destroyed the main gang of the robbers. So since there is the object, since the object itself is disappeared, on which the innate eye grasping attitude grasps or clings. So therefore, there's no enemy to hate, and therefore there's no relative to attach. So since there's that misconcept self is like being involved, so therefore simultaneously then this clinging and the hatred and clinging or the attachment is also disappeared. And then from then, of course, we still got the imprint of the negative karma that we have committed in the past. But from then onward, we will not commit any negative karma.
That's what
So since one is not committing any more negative karma to be born in the cycle of existence, so one has the choices to kind of purify the negative karma that one has already accumulated from the past. So therefore, if you also read the scriptures or the text which in which the informations are, and also pray and then receive more teachings with and consult your doubts with also other teachers or other lamas, then eventually maybe you might be able to point at such a misconcept self. So today we stop here, because I have to go to extend the simulation. Sorry.